Here to keep the chase going, share information, spread unity, preserve our heritage and our culture. We're trying to achieve something that you just can't catch. We're always trying to find a better way, trying to make better dogs. That's what Dixie Doggers Podcast is. That's who we are. All right, everybody, Dixie Doggers Podcast back here to you one more time.
Yes, indeed.
We have we got a guy on today that I think he's been on a few other podcasts and stuff. I really figured he'd come on mine first, but he didn't. But anyway, he's kind of threw a new hitch in the giddy up around the terrier world. There's a lot of guys that out here in the U.S. we love the York Terrier or the Jag. We love the Jags, like the Patterdales. But the new kid on the block is the Heide Terrier, and so this man right here he actually got off his ass and went to another country, checked these dogs, the parents, and did the whole 9 yards before he really got started in them, and now he's taking it and he's running with it, and he's doing a great job from what I can see. Mr. Josh Neff is with us tonight. Josh, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, Joey and Nathan. Thanks for having me on this podcast. I'm excited to be here and talk with you guys, and it's been kind of a long time coming for all of us to connect.
Oh yeah,
yes,
it has. So we both have had a lot of terriers and stuff. I've had them for a long time over the years, seen all different stages of it. And you yourself, you haven't had them for that long, but you've already seen the changes over the past few years in some of the terriers as well.
Yeah.
And I think I think that's one of those deals that can kind of attest for itself. Maybe some of the terrier guys and gals out there need to tighten up a little bit. We don't need to see bad changes.
No.
Yeah.
And
there's always going to be changes, and hopefully they're moving in the right direction.
That's right. But if they'll all move like you've been doing, I think it'd be a lot better. So give us a little history, a little backstory on you yourself and the dogs that you started with and where you're at now with them and the dogs that you have.
Yeah. So right, the backstory on me is I'll just kind of make it quick, but I was never, I never grew up hunting, never grew up a dog person really. I mean, the first dog, and this is the funniest memory ever, my mother brought home a dog when I was 4 years old, and it was a pug, and I looked at her and was like, what the hell is this? What kind of dog is that? And I named that sucker Yoda. I was obsessed with Star Wars.
Wow.
But, that was my first dog, and things have changed so much. But I went to college for design up in Portland, Oregon, and worked for companies like Nike, New Balance, Adidas, Carhartt, Arc'teryx, just creating different marketing content, visuals, graphics, a lot of photos, and brand strategy for marketing campaigns for them. But, I broke out of it during a project that I created called The Outer Limits, and I knew not one thing about hunting, not one thing about dogs, and I lived in probably the most politically violent city, Portland, Oregon, where, they'll try to turn you into a feminist who at Whole Foods and drives Prius first month of living there, kind of a place. And there was a lot of strong opinions in that city, and this world today, it kind of seems like you read it online, it has to be right. And I wanted to learn about hunting, and so I created a project, and I took a film camera and I started exploring Eastern Oregon and agricultural areas, and tried to meet hunters and farmers and ranchers, and that led me to where I am right now with dogs. I met a guy who took me on a hound hunt. We went and treated a bobcat, broke up a nasty hound tree fight at the same time. Never seen that before. Got my hands bloody with some hounds. Took some cool photos on my camera, and as bad as the situation was, I was addicted. I thought, wow, hound hunting's sweet. And from there, kind of just progressed and ended up moving out into Eastern Oregon. I changed my job so that I could kind of follow this project. And before I got into the Heide Terriers, which were dogs I brought in from Germany, I kind of had cow dogs around me at the time, but it wasn't the dog that I wanted to work with. And explore, I guess, in this next chapter of my life. But I had heard of yacht terriers and looked around. It seemed maybe a little small for the country I was in, and the coyotes that we had and the mountain lions. And I would hate to get a dog killed as a new dog guy. They're kind of also a companion friend to me. So I found these Heide terriers, and I rolled the dice and went over to Europe and went and got my dogs.
Cool. That's a big step, because I mean, to put that into perspective for a lot of the listeners out there, that would be like somebody from Australia coming over here to hunt with a Catahoula before they bought one, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a big step. Or that would be like you're going to a whole nother country. First off, that's
that was fun. That was fun for me. That was the fun part. That's gotta
be pretty wild there.
That was fun. I didn't know anything about dogs during this journey. I mean, it was like, it had a pulse, had 4 legs. It looked like a hunting dog. I did as much research as I could, and I'm kind of a person who wants to map it all out. I don't want to just roll the dice too quick. There's not a lot of stuff
out there, was it?
No, there was hardly nothing. Yes. And I reached out to a few guys we all know of in the circles, and as a new guy, I was kicked to the curb, and I was
one
told
dickhead that did you wrong, man.
Yeah, I was kicked to the curb because I was new, and that's what you get into in the dogs. When we love something, we want to protect it. We don't want just any random person coming in without earning it.
No, that's right.
So I knew I wanted Heide terriers, and I got on the Facebook groups, and I was very persistent, and I communicated with a guy over there for 9 months. I also, I met a guy who was willing to sell me dogs immediately, and I kind of took that as maybe I shouldn't buy a dog from him. He's willing to sell a dog to anyone. Am I getting a dog that I will really love and enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of marinated on this for a little bit. Finally, I was like, that's it. Let's go. Let's get him. And I set it up. I didn't know how to choose a dog. I just picked him. I saw my male Yuma. He was a brindle pup in the litter. My good friend now, Indo Bauer, had a pup for maybe 5 or 6 weeks old. He had a big rope with hands on it, banging it on the ground. And Yuma was one of the first dogs to just run into it and was whining and barking at it. And it's like, you know what? He seems like he has some nerve. Let's go with him. And that was the first dog I brought in. And after that, a year later, I went and I picked up 2 more dogs. And we're still, picking up dogs. I'll be there in August picking up another dog.
Now, how was the how were the Germans as far as like welcoming you, and how is the culture different as far as the hunting dog culture? I mean, how strict are they on things? I know some of this, but for some of the listeners out there, I know they think that we're pretty rough on stuff. No, we're not.
It's a different culture. I mean, it's very ceremonial, and not to say that hunting in the South or Florida or the southern states or Texas isn't ceremonial at all. I mean, you guys should hopefully never take the hunting we have for granted, because it comes with a free. I mean, just the fact that we get to go crack Coors Lights, on a hunt together at the end. Or,
Miller Lite.
To do that.
Miller
Lights are. I'm a Western guy.
Okay,
Coors Lights.
We'll drink a Coors Light too. I will. I'll do that.
If it's cold, it's okay.
I'll drink beer.
If the mountains are blue, come on.
I don't give a shit what color they are. Just give me the beer. Now I talked to some Germans. And it was about 20 years ago, 15 years ago or so, and some of them were very, very open and welcoming, but like you said, they're very strict in their guidelines and their breed programs. They don't dick around.
They're strict, and I've never hunted over in Germany, and the hunting I have done wasn't a lot. I mean, drew many deer tags, never got a buck in certain units. Just a new hunter, had no one to really learn from, just trying myself and trying for that photo project. But I went over there and we ran some pigs around, and I had a big spear in my hand and a Kevlar suit that I was wearing, and they were really big on safety. You don't get to run around in in your tennis shoes or your jeans. It's
Yeah.
have very bright colors. The hunt is a controlled hunt. There's a hunt manager.
They have reflective stripes, right?
Reflective gear. The dogs are all vested
Yes.
in reflective gear and cut gear. But the thing about hunting there, and I don't know what it's like down in the South, but it was like swimming through an ocean of thorns.
Yeah,
Just the thickest, thorniest country.
Yeah, that's it. That's the South.
Yeah,
Thorns,
something like that, right?
Yeah, it's
Sweaty.
hot, humid, very, very hot and humid. We had a dog got out a little over 2 miles the other day, stayed bayed for 3 hours in one spot. It's 100+ degrees. Thought we were all going to pass out and die. Humidity was 76%.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Some guys from South Louisiana, they live in the marsh. That's where they hunt, in the marsh. They came up here and they were like, we thought it was going to be cooler. I was like, well, no, you're in between these mountains. There's no breeze or nothing. And they were like, they thought that they didn't know what to think. But
I'd probably have a heart attack.
It's very humid. That's the main thing. The temperature, I mean, like Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Oklahoma, all those states, they have high temps as well. But they don't have the humidity that we have.
In Germany, they hunt in the winter. It's a winter time hunt from I think around December to February, and then they do a corn hunt in November, which is I kind of think more along the lines of stuff that you guys would love. It's not a drive hunt where you have men up in towers shooting at pigs and stag, and it's turn the dogs loose in the corn and stay with them.
Yeah, that's more along the lines of what we all do in our areas. I found that probably most, I'm gonna say a very, very high percentage, they won't even carry guns at all, or they might carry a sidearm, or some people, they might bay a hog and walk in and shoot it. But if a group's going out like us, there's no guns.
I keep a pistol in my backpack.
One person keeps a sidearm for an emergency, but other than that, we don't want anybody shooting around the dogs. And plus, our dogs aren't shot around very much, so if you shoot, my dog might run back to the truck and hide. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But that's a pretty cool way that they hunt. But like I said, the corn hunt, that's probably more along the lines of what we would do.
Yeah, they have, they definitely run rifles, no pistols in Germany, spears, long, hog stick and knives. For sure they have that. Their rifles are very, very beautifully crafted rifles. And when I went, they basically have their version of Cabela's or Bass Pro. It's called Franconia, and you go there. And hunting, I think the fear we have as Americans is watching hunting get stripped away from us. And I would never want to say that it's been fully stripped away from them. But when the entry rifle to get into the game costs $1,200, you have to look at yourself. I think what's really going on here.
And a nice rifle is $6,000 to $10,000.
Yeah, so they up the, it's kind of, I feel like they kind of price it so that there's not a lot of people doing it. But it's a tradition. It's very ceremonial for them. I know there's some large farms, or I forget how many hectares or what it translates to acres, but there's some guys who go and hunt, kind of like us American guys do. I won't ever share their names, but they're out there to hunt, test dogs, and I really admire that. Because to me, a guy out there hunting dogs, whether it's fully legal or not, does that really state the morals of who that person is in society? Guys out there having a blast hunting dogs doesn't mean he's a bad father or a bad brother or a bad husband or anything. So as long as there's game and we manage it right and ethically, I'm all for hunting dogs and all for the sport. And so I'd love to see it change for them, but never take hog hunting and hunting in America for granted.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, and I've said this probably a dozen times on our podcast, that we had open reign on wild hogs here in Alabama for many, many years. There was no rules or regulations. Once you caught it, it was yours. You could keep it alive. You didn't have to have permits. You didn't have to have transport permits. You didn't have to have a station or pens or nothing that were inspected. All you had to do was catch it, bring it to the house. then it literally changed in 1 year's time from that to no live hogs at all. Like as soon as you catch them, you got to kill them. And so that's why I preach the same thing. Don't think that it can't happen, because it can.
Yeah.
And it can happen very quick. It can happen before you even know it. So people need to stay on top of that, you know.
And that's why I changed. You know, I think my goal even in hunting is kind of bridging connections. And you were mentioning me being on some other podcasts, and I think that's kind of what I saw that I could help with. You know, I definitely lived on the other side of this, man. I never thought hunting was that valuable, and I never grew up, so I had really no recognition for it or regard for people like you guys out there. And the more I spent out hunting coyotes and hunting game and learning about lions and deer populations, I realized how kind of messed up the whole system is, and how you know, hunters and really do bring that balance. And I have such a respect and regard for them today. I see a lot when I see a hunter.
That's awesome to hear that view from, because you're the first person that we've had on that didn't really come from a hunting background in some form or fashion. I mean, you know, there's been a few that weren't hog hunters and they just started hog hunting themselves, but like you just weren't around it at all and seen both sides of it. So that's it's really good to hear your input on that.
Yeah,
because it can change. And then with you being able to go to, you know, with you going to other countries and seeing how limited it is for them, like, you know, people don't realize that that's a real thing. They just they don't.
They live in their own world.
Yeah, they're in their own world.
They think United States is the world.
Well, they feel they feel
DUI,
entitled.
I think in Germany, I think is no more license the rest of your life. I think they're just very strict on certain rules. Yeah, like, I mean, pretty rough. I was asking one of the guys there, because I mean, we drank so much beer when I visit them, and that was like their thing. They were trying to always prove that they could outdrink me, and I was like, you know, that they're proud of their dogs, they're proud of their beer and their pilsners, and you know, it's their tradition. But I kind of asked, like, you guys drink a lot. Do they drive home after this? Oh, no, we'll stay here until we're sober.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good, though. I mean, that's good.
That's good and safe. They're just their laws. I mean, that's, you know, I think we're seeing it in our world now. I think we all have that fear that hunting could change, and so that's why we all need to really get on the same page. Whether you're a bow hunter or you're a logger or you're working in the coal mines, anybody who has a say or their heart and natural resources needs to see the other guy and natural resources on the same side. There's nothing to really argue about.
Exactly. We're on the same team.
Yes, we are.
But it seems to be one of those things where there's always somebody or a couple of them that have to argue about every little thing. And we're gonna have that forever. We just have to learn, you know,
forever.
Yeah, forever. So we just have to learn that you kind of just got to love them for who they are and move on.
Yep.
And just keep pushing on what we're doing. So, all right, now let's get into these. Let's get into these dogs you got. Give us a little history on the Heide Terrier. And so, I had to make Nathan stop saying Heide Terrier and say Heide Terrier. I think you were about 9th or 10th grade, and I was like, stop. Nobody understands what you're saying, son. Because he would say he would pronounce it correctly. And I was like, and we were teaching dogs in German and stuff. And it's like, we can't do this.
No,
we're not German.
We don't have to get too bent out of shape on the pronunciation. I mean, you and I talked about, I mean, you know, 85% of the Americans are going to call them Jags. We're not going to call them Yak Terriers. Yes. Heide Terriers, Heides. I mean, Heides, I don't, you know.
Heathens.
They are. Yeah, that's right. They're like little midget wolves. But you know, these dogs, they, from my understanding, and I've spent a lot of time talking to the guys who were involved early on. These dogs were created by a man named Karl Heinz and Hans Warner, who doesn't get any more German than that.
And Adolf.
Yeah. And these two guys wanted to. They loved the beloved Yak Terriers. They wanted to make a sow hunting dog for these large northern Germany sow drives. And he's young, he's small, these small York Terriers would just go to ground. They'd get so excited on other game as well. And that's kind of where these Heide Terriers came about. They needed a dog doing it, break into a badger den or a fox burrow or just go to ground. They just wanted to stay focused on running of the sows and the boar so that the shooters could shoot, but these dogs could catch them if they were wounded or catch them if they were still alive or just catch them straight up. So they wanted dogs of size, and it started with a line of York Terriers that were non-typical. They were pure, but they weren't they weren't really registered. They were about the 30-pound range. They weren't really recognized as York Terriers, but they bred them to be that size. And so they started with those dogs, and Hans, from my understanding, brought in some prison guard Airedales. During the 70s or so, there was an infusion of prison guard Airedales in some prisons closing down in Germany. And so they had some lines of Airedales with working stock, and they brought those over and made their breedings. And that first cross was just half York Terrier, half Airedale, and they started with that. Later on, Eastern European York Terriers were used, and from my understanding, some of these Eastern European York Terriers were actually English Bull crossed York Terriers, and guys have put English Bull over there and not talk about it and breed that in and make a harder, catchier, more stout York Terrier, and they put those in. And that's kind of, I think, when that came out. Well, if there's some English Bull in, let's put a little more catch dog in. And so later on, these dogs, they used. I mean, you run a DNA test on my dogs right now, you're going to see English Bull Terrier, you're going to see American Pit Bull Terrier, you're going to see Alano, you're going to see Airedale, York Terrier, and some Irish. I really don't know why Irish Terriers were used. I joke around with my German friends all the time because they also kind of think the Irish Terrier wasn't really that beneficial of a dog to use. But
yeah, I was the same way. I never seen much in the Irish. Actually had an Irish and was going to incorporate it, and it didn't work out.
Yeah,
in our think, stuff, it was like, nah, I think that might be just the only other terrier they had available. Maybe you think at the time that was worth the shit. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I think part of it too is maybe some sort of outcross for some reason. I don't know what they were getting out of it. I think the Germans have been known for breeding good dogs and having programs to breed, and maybe they were looking for a trait out of that dog, whether it's color or coat. That simple. I mean, they seemed like mad scientists when it came to dogs when I was over there, and how they make their dogs. But I was really shocked the farther I got into it with the Alano and those catchier guard style dogs, and even American Pit Bull. But I think where the story goes is a lot of rude stock working dogs had something put into it, and guys probably kept their mouth shut because they just wanted to produce a dog with ability. They didn't want to get caught up in conversation of what it was and what it wasn't. And they realized, let's put something more catchy in, some more bone. Let's throw some Milano in there, some Spanish boar dog. And a dog my friend Arn Polmeyer ended up bringing up a dog from Spain named Thor. And I'm pretty sure his blood bred half York Terrier, half American Pit Bull, half Alano, and he was like the godfather of so many Heide Terriers, and made his line of dogs. And a lot of people today might argue, well, that's not a Heide Terrier; it's an English Bull Terrier, an Airedale, and a York Terrier. But it's the history; it's in the blood, and it's what those dogs are today.
We'll be back after a quick break.
And now, thanks to the sponsors and friends of Dixie Doggers. Animal Housing Solutions.
Boars N Broads.
Crockett Taxidermy.
Hardcore Hog Dogs.
Southern Cross Cut Gear.
Ada Y Transport.
4L Kennels.
The American Doghorn Museum.
Unique Hounding Hunting Supply.
Hogbaying.com.
Tuskers Magazine.
Mud Creek Hog Dog Trials.
Yeah, and I think that's where I stayed so firm on having just the 3 breeds in when I started my Americanized version. I wanted to have the same dog, but at that time there was you couldn't find them. First off, I said, that's been 15 plus years ago. But anyway, so all I could find on them, and with the people I talked to, it was the Airedale, the York Terrier, and the Bull Terrier, and then an Irish Terrier as an outcross after you bred so long. So that's what I went with. That's what I was told, and these are by some breeders that I talked to in Germany. And so for a long time, man, that's it. And then like you said, there were other people, they pop up with a York Terrier and a Bull Terrier cross, and they're like, here's a hide. I'm like, that's not a hide. That's just a cross, 50-50.
That's right.
And then they would do an Airedale and a Bull Terrier, like, here's a hide. I'm like, no. And after so long, I was like, I'm getting nowhere with people. So I didn't produce any dogs out there for the public. Very, very few.
Yeah.
There was 3 that left my yard. And, but like I said, I just bred for myself. But I think, like you said, with the Irish, because the only way I could see using, like, I had bred is all I could go with the amount of dogs I had without severe inbreeding. And so I had to have an outcross. And I didn't want to introduce another line of Airedale or another line of Bull or another line of York. And so I was like, well, I'll try this Irish. And that's where I stopped once I got there. So
yeah,
I think it's more out of just necessity on that part. And then having those 3 breeds come together, and if you can get them to the percentages that work for you specifically, it's a phenomenal dog.
Yeah, they're not bad dogs at all. And I always kind of laugh because of where I am in my journey with dogs. I don't feel like I could give these dogs the real justice and the name they deserve. And I'm a new guy who just wants to be in and be a part and hunt the best. I've learned the best I can. And I just put effort in to find the dogs I believe would do well. And that took time and lots of communication. As I say, I probably got over 10,000 hours on Google Translate. But with the hides, go back far enough and get into the guys who started. I just being able to talk about the Alano and the blood and the American Pit Bull and parts. A lot of people wouldn't share that. They would only share English Bull, like your idea of the dog, because German dog laws doesn't allow American Pit Bull Terrier. They don't allow these fighting breeds. And so what would these dogs have been if they had laws that we have here in America? Yes. What if, these were dogs we created? Maybe we would have, done things like Arn did, where he went down to Spain and imported a more catch style dog to put into them. But for them, they have a database and how they manage their dogs. A lot of it really just for them is, does it go back to Karl Heinz and Hans Werner? Does it go back to 71? There's some people who, because of the popularity of the dog, they'll take the York Terrier and English Bull Terrier and make their own. But if they're using the wrong ingredients, they're not making the dog that's going to catch or track it. If you're using the wrong Airedale, it's not going to perform the same. And these dogs have, have gotten kind of lost in translation.
Yes. Well, I see quite a few people using them for decoy dogs.
Yeah. That's what I saw them for.
The ones I have, you can't use for decoy dogs.
No.
No, I mean, like, they're going to put teeth on it. It's the equivalent of a game dog to a sense. It's not an American Pit Bull Terrier game dog, but it has that much drive.
And that's the thing I realized. When I got into these dogs, I just wanted to hunt coyotes, and I thought, mid-sized terrier. But the more I got into different lines, I realized I could never write these dogs off as a coyote dog. And I'm glad to be on your podcast because they're a hog dog through and through. If you go back to their history, they should run in and grab a hold just like what you made. They should not back up and bay. They should not bark. They should hang teeth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Arn's a good friend of mine, Ingo Bauer too. I mean, they breed dogs for the catch. Arn wants them to be loud. Calls them, how does he describe them? They must track loud. When he got into them, they're using sound tracking York Terriers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about York Terriers and sound tracking ones, but some of his dogs are very loud and open as they're running pigs. But
see, we don't want any of ours open. Yeah, but they all need to run the catch. Yeah,
that was the thing. I mean, and a lot of people, you know, I know some arguments are, well, the dog could get hurt, and in Germany it's what's safe for the hunter. What's safe for the hunter walking into the dogs? They don't want the boar running and cutting them. So
mm-hmm.
the dogs gotta get in there, and you're running large packs of dogs. These northern German hunting packs. Arn's casting, I don't know, 15 of these dogs out, and it's just terriers. Some guys will use Russian Lycas, and you'll see guys using Drahts mixed in and other packs, but Arn just has I call them the murderer's row lineup. The Yankees. It's dogs that are handled one by themselves. You know, these are rough dogs, and they do well on a hunt, but they're dogs that don't get to sit out in the yard and get bored, as you and I have kind of talked about.
Yeah. And they can they're a different dog. They're really high prey drive dogs. They have they're just different, man. I don't know how to explain it. A lot of people could not handle those style dogs. And I know I'm going to catch shit for that because everybody can do everything, of course. And we don't know nothing, but at the same time, it was very hard for me. I wouldn't even take anybody hunting hardly at all, or go with anybody and take my dogs because, like you said, I had a different outlook on it. I kept a large yard of dogs, and I mimicked a lot of stuff that the Europeans done, the Germans and stuff, because it seemed like they had their stuff working a little better than what it was at the time here. And like you said, we made that analogy earlier, is like sometimes they die.
Yeah.
I literally was looking at a casualty every hunt for a while. It did get old though.
Yeah. And I mean, and when I sat down and talked to different breeders, you know, Arn really spoke to me the most just because of how much he's put into the dogs. Dog breeding's not his business. I mean, he trains military dogs. He has a very special line of Pressas and other dogs he uses for bite work. And he's put out the most litter of hides, that's good or bad, but they were all bred to be catch dogs. I know there's many dogs that aren't sold that were too rough, that were probably seen as, you know, culls are not good, but he bred a dog that would go in and put the blinders on and go and grab. It wasn't going to think twice. And I owned one of those dogs for a bit. I'm not going to lie. The place where I am in my life with dogs, she wasn't meant to be my dog long term. You know, I'm out here coyote hunting these dogs, and the ones I have, I can live with. I've got a handle on them. They can be rough when they need to, but Anna from Arn, she was I call her the murder bitch. She was just, you know, she had one job, and that was to go and catch. And so I sent her to a guy I sold a son of her off of down in Florida. She's going to be a hog dog, and that's what she deserves.
Yeah.
You know, putting her interests in front of mine, I would have loved to have kept her, but she was no coyote dog, and to write them off as a coyote dog is selling those dogs short.
Yeah, I could, and you know, it's one of those deals. It's almost a touchy subject because at the same time, you know, there's guys out here that take these dogs and they decoy and they coyote hunt with them and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. And
no,
that dog is perfect for what they're doing, but for what the dog was originally bred for and what it was preserved for, that's not what it was. It's like you said, it's a kill dog. It's a grab a hold, and when it catches, it's like some of the most perfect stuff you've ever seen. They're peaceful. They're not fired up, acting crazy. It's like they're in La La Land. They're like, this is the best thing in the world.
And when I got into these dogs, I was a little shocked. They kind of like pain a little bit, Joey. Especially Anna is like pain. I had my first yard fight break loose, and it was my fault, putting a dog like her out in my yard with another female and stepping away for a second. And now being able to understand what I had, but I realized quickly things were going in a direction I did not want them to go, and punching this dog, to get it off my other dog, and realizing this dog is excited by this. This dog is loving that I'm doing this, and so realizing what these dogs will endure. I mean, it's a terrier that has that, like, I would say, I've never owned pits, but it's like a terrier with that pit bull mentality almost. Like,
yes,
you're going to have to handle it differently. But my other dogs, they're bred a little different. I mean, in Lithuania, they have a huge program for these hides over there. And they have a club. And another thing, here in America, if you want to make a litter of dogs, you can go make a litter of dogs however you want. But over there with their club, you don't get to make a breed just because you think it's special. It's got to be a crew. And so how they work there is, these dogs they have right now are being tested on moose, on red stag, on boar, badger, fox. They even try to test them on beaver. Beaver is such a game to hunt there. They want the dog to be able to go up to the beaver dam and flush the beaver out. And as the beaver comes out, the guy will shoot it or net it. And but anywho,
there's pretty wild there.
I've done it with small.
Yeah.
terriers.
Yeah, don't say all that. Man. You're not supposed to tell everybody we've already done that. We're supposed to be like, wow, that's awesome.
I just didn't do big dogs. I only had red terriers. I'm
with
sorry.
hides.
Yeah,
It is
awesome though.
Yeah. With the hides, there's different lines and what to expect in lines. And for a guy like me, I'm hunting coyotes. I would like to be able to maybe take these dogs and go see what they'll do with a mountain lion or like run them on a different game. For me and what I like something a little versatile. I don't want a dog who is backing up to a raccoon on the ground and scared to engage, or scared to engage a coyote on the ground. But with certain lines, you get into Arn Pohlmeyer line, it's kill dogs. It's 100% commitment. With other lines, you'll be able to do things you can't do with Arn dogs. You could go duck hunting with them. You could go do some decoying. You could go catch some hogs, but that intensity is going to be different. And that's the thing. I guess with dogs, you have to live with certain people have different requirements. And for me, like I definitely like dogs that respect my rules and respect other dogs. And at the same time, if I'm going hog hunting, though, I probably need to have the most baddest, roughest dog, like Arn did. So, not to knock any breeders or anyone's lines, they can fluctuate a little bit.
Yep. And I've seen that when I first inquired about the breed myself. There wasn't any in the states that I knew, and then when there was one or two people that had some imported, I was already messing around with me and some other guys we're doing some crosses, and then I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna get one of these. And it didn't suit what we done. And, I tried to be open-minded enough not to make an assumption that that the whole breed was like that. And so I just kept open mind, but it was so hard to communicate and to talk with people in another country and not be able to be there. And see, and that's why when I found out that you went, I was like, okay, he done something that's big time, and it's not about showboating or money or none of that. It's like, okay, if you care enough to fly to another country to check out these dogs' parents and to check out the breeder and to make sure that this is the right thing for you, that means you care enough about these dogs that you're going to produce good dogs. And if you don't, then you're a damn idiot. I'm sorry.
I think there's just a risk in it no matter what, no matter how you go about it.
Yes.
I flew over there and brought 2 females back in 20 days. That female ran under my pickup truck, ran over her head, and she did end up living, but she was never going to be the same dog again. That's just how things go, and dogs and accidents happen. And, I'm in this spot right now. It's like and I hate to be that guy, but it's like you put all this money in. My goal is to get the dogs to people who, hog hunt, like Roy and some of the other guys I've sold dogs to. And I'm talking to you guys. I want to know what you think, what you see in them, where things can be fixed or where there's not enough in them. And, I think that's where I am. And so I'm kind of not scrambling, but I don't want to fly across the world for dogs and have them killed out the gate. It would have been for nothing. So, we just made a breeding right now, and this is the dog world where it's an experiment. It's not proven that it's going to be best or it's going to be good, and you can take the two best dogs and they might make an amazing litter. But I'm hoping, and if it doesn't come out, we'll just try again and give it another shot. But when I got into them, I was like, if I'm going to do this and put the miles in and do this, I might as well give it a shot. I would hate to sit at home and think, well, I just tried this my own or did it this way and it didn't work out. I would love to go and grab their version that they've made since the 70s and give it a real shot. So that's kind of where we are. And
man, I'm glad you did all this, really, because I don't know. Like I said, I got to a level of frustration where I stepped away because and you already know what I'm talking about. It gets to a point where it's like, and you've been doing it for just a couple of years, you'll see all the junk that's out there. And the people that you looked up to when you first even inquired about it or first seen it, you'll be like, these guys are jerks. And they're not about the dog at all. They're about something totally different. And it really just beats you down over time. And but like I said, I think you're on a great path with it. And I mean, you put me down for one for sure, and I'll give her a run. Ain't no doubt.
Yeah, well, we're gonna send one for you guys. I honestly probably need to send a few just to like see what a litter, how they change in a litter. I mean, there's so much to learn about dogs, and where I am, it's like.
Well, I guess if you're gonna send that many, you better drive them down here yourself.
Yeah, you got to come down and hunt. We
have to test you too.
And that's the thing. I've never got to hog hunt like this, and so that's another thing I need to come check out. And but I mean, my dogs, the dogs I have right now, I'm banking on genetics. I'm banking on that fact that the guys that made the dogs, these aren't my dogs. I mean, I bought them, but these aren't dogs I made. These aren't dogs like I told you earlier. I didn't put my name on them. That's an Arn dog.
Yep. And the clarification on this for our listeners out there, the original breeders started in 1970 and 71 in that area. Okay. This man that he's dealing with, or one of the men that he's dealing with, these dogs are from some of the original breeders, correct?
Yeah, they go back.
They go back.
Every dog in Arn's yard goes back to 71.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So this isn't like he didn't go get some Heide terriers. He got the original line, the original lineage of Heide terriers that were produced ever. Not just from somebody, but from the fucking original breeders of the whole breed, not just a line. So just to put that into perspective, like that's like going back to the guy who created the game dog or the Great Dane or any of those type of dogs. It's the same kind of deal. So these are going to be they're at a different level than some of the other versions that are out there.
And that's and like we kind of talked about, though, these dogs have been around since the 70s, and since the 2000s, they've taken off in Europe. There's a larger market for them, obviously, over there where they're from. And I mean, they've been watered down in places. People have, people have bought dogs from Arn and bred them back to Airedale, thinking they were going to do the impossible. Now, look at me. I've got an Airedale and I've got your dog, and I'm going to make something better. Yep. And then it go through, and then you have these people cycling these pups out in the world, and kind of that happens in the dog world. And so when you get a dog from Arn, I can't say enough nice things about him. Mm-hmm. My friend Ingo, he's a family man, a hunter. He lived his whole life in northern Germany in a small village of agricultural area up in Germany, and he has always loved hunting boar. He had what they called back then farm terriers, just mixed drop terriers, mixed up hunting dogs, and he would go run around in a little green hat and a rifle and shoot pigs with his dogs. Whether
awesome.
they were any good or not, they weren't allowed to have pit bulls and those rougher dogs, but he just loved hunting boar. And he got into hides, and in his current yard, he has some dogs that go back to Arn and go back to 71. He has dogs with other breeders. There's a lot of breeders now in the game. There's guys like Walter Bretherens. There's Andreas Pence. There's Renee Hoffman. There's Steinhoffel. There's a lot of different German guys who are producing these dogs, and they're kind of tweaking things a little bit. They are, and that's not saying that's a bad thing, but another guy might want to hunt this way, or want the dog to be a little more English bull terrier,
Yep.
But that's the thing. You can't label one line as the whole breed sucks just because there's still a new dog.
And there was never an actual true breed standard.
No.
So it's more like you said, it was open to an extent to say, okay, this is more along the style that I hunt. Like you said, you could have one that had way more bull terrier in that line and have a little hard chunk of just iron and steel going in there. Or you could have them that had a little more York terrier in them and had a lot more nose and more mouth on track and were more hunt oriented. Or you have them with the Airedales, have a little more size to them, bigger bone structure, density.
Exactly.
And that's what we messed with, is more on the Airedale side, but you can get, like you said, you can take something that's really, really great and try to make something better and just mess it all up real quick.
And that's the toughest part of this whole dog game. I've found it's like, I'm not here trying to reinvent the wheel. I've found that my goals are, all right, there's multiple breeders in Germany. If I'm going to import dogs in, let's look at them here. Let's look at different lines and see what we think of them. And then, we have the possibility of making combinations they might not have made just because of the pride that comes with running dogs. And, Arn might make dogs, and he doesn't want Walter having his style dogs, because Walter's done this with his dogs, and his dogs are run catch the whole way, not run to bay. And, people, how it is in the dog world. We all have opinions and feelings that are wrapped into the dogs, but the opportunity, which I saw the Lithuanians do, is they imported dogs from every line, and they started making combinations that nobody else has made in Germany.
Yeah.
And so they really got to kind of refine their dogs a little bit, and I think that's what we can do here. But at the same time, if it's good, we don't change.
You said something that about, like, a lot of the Europeans, they have so much pride in what they do.
So much.
All right.
It's insane.
There's a
call
lot of
American pride, though.
Yeah, and that's there's a lot of us here that have the same type of pride.
Oh, yes.
But there's also the other side of it, and that's the scary side. That's the side that sucks, because it's like you're going to have this guy that's going to sing this great song to you, and you're going to be like, I got to get a dog in this guy's hands. And the first fucking thing he's going to do is breed it to something, or he's going to have an accidental breeding, and he's going to market the shit out of it, and he's going to start selling them. And then he just screws it all up, all the hard work that you've done. And that's the part that sucks. And so it's that was one of the things I just couldn't keep a grasp on. It's like, I get so aggravated with it. But you have to vet. You got to vet all the people that you put dogs in with now. It's you got to really be on top of the game on that.
Yeah, and I think that's just how it's going to work. Once we grow something, eventually, the people who maybe in the beginning didn't like you are going to want to see it. They're going to want to see it for themselves, and someone down the road's going to let one go. And I can't let that stop me from sleeping at night.
That's
and
right.
I can't, as there's only so much we can control in life, and a lot of people want their ducks in a row. And with these dogs, I just want the ducks in the pond. I'm not trying to control it so hard. And there's people who have frustrated me, and I've frustrated them. But really, we're all here. We like hunting dogs, whether our interpretations are different. And my goal is to bring them in, see what people like Roy and like you think of this different line or others, or if they wanted access. You know, it cost me, I don't know, my first dog was probably $4,500 there and back. You know, not a lot of guys get to go do that.
No,
and I'm a single man that likes to go play and run around and go to check out other countries. And I was like, you know what? This is gonna be a cool story in my life too. What the hell? Like, I could go get a dog in Germany and hang out with these guys at their house for 2 weeks and go hunt and drink beer and learn.
Yeah. And see, at like, $4,500, you done that to get your dog, and you got top of the line, the best that you can get. And guys like me, and there's several of us in the States that done the same kind of shit years ago. To, you know, not like what you're doing, but we were breeding the same type of dogs, or wanted to breed the same, and we spent $4,500 on shit. And we culled $4,500 worth of damn Airedales in like a year, probably 2 years, and then it took all those years in time to get something that was like, okay, wow, here we go. And you know, like you got to go and get to the best part of it right off the bat. You're way ahead of what it took 10 years for me to even get close to. And you know, and so I really commend you for doing that. And I'm glad the world is open enough now that you can do that.
It's all perspective too. You know, I mean, I love my male I had, and like I told you guys earlier before we hopped in, like there's mistakes I've made as a new hunter. I mean, there's things that you have to fault yourself on versus the dog. Like, you know, where I am now, the next dog I get, it's just kind of going to be go off and hunt. And if you die, I mean, this is it. I mean, I don't want to hold the dog back. So, like, that was one of my things in the beginning, because a dog to me growing up was a pet, a friend. It came home with you every day. And now I'm hunting my pet and my friend, and he might get die today. You know, you have to realize what you're getting into, and what, if you want the dog to really speak, you know, you have to give him the opportunity to. And if you hold that back, you're not going to have much to talk on. And so, I mean, there's parts where I've made mistakes as a new dog guy. I mean, we'll go hunt, but there's times where like, you know what, I might not do that. I'm weighing out the risk versus the benefit. But
you can tell that you were not raised in the hunting world.
No,
because, I can tell, because like you've got all this laid out and planned, and and you have and I'm not trying to be a jerk. I've already done that. I've already been an ass before to you, and wasn't even trying to, and I apologize. But it was like, and that was
it's mutual, Joey.
Well,
I was like, Joey's a dick. He won't respond to me.
Yeah,
this asshole down south.
That's right. Like, this big dumbass redneck. But it was like, because of all the things we just talked about, I had already been through all those, and I was like, it's another one of these guys. And I was like, I wish I literally wish I had been open-minded enough to just say, okay. But like I said, I did keep up with what you were doing. I was trolling your ass, watching you. I was like, what's he up to now? and me and a few other guys, we talked, and I think the biggest thing is you came across open, and you were very nice and polite. So we were like, what does he want from us? Yeah, what the hell does he want? What's wrong with this guy? Us. Yeah.
Come on in, boys. I got to take you out to deep water and drown you now.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we were like. He's with the FBI or some shit. What do we do? And so it was like, and I told Roy, I don't know if you talked to Roy or not. I guess you do talk to Roy a pretty good bit, but you can ask him when we were at Earl's. I was like, I just had my head down. I was like, dude, I feel like such a dick. I said, I haven't even touched back with you or nothing. I was like, seeing the dogs that you were producing and stuff, I was like, man, I said, I really should have handled that differently. And not just for me doing it for my sake, but for your sake and for every other dog man out there. That should have been handled differently, especially somebody who wasn't from the hunting world. You should be welcome in to the hunting world, not just, left on red and be like, I didn't respond. It's easier for me just not to say nothing.
It's all good. And I think, I've made assumptions about everybody too. It's how it goes. And it's just human nature. It's not just hunting dogs. It's everything else. But I mean, my life's changed completely because of hunting dogs. I kind of got off the trajectory of my career, and I said, I'm going to move out to Eastern Oregon to a private family ranch that my family's doing nothing with, and I'm going to live out there for 8 months with no water while this well's broke and run dogs and just live rough and grow a beard.
Yeah.
Get rid of my Honda CRV and get a Tacoma and run around and chase walkers and 3 cats. And, you know, I would hunt with Indians at night. It's old tribal ground. They'd be spotlighting deer, and I'd be like, all right, you clip that one. Turn the dogs loose. They got to catch it. You know,
Drop me a pin. Drop me a pin. Send me an address. I'm
Dude, there was no address. There was a Forest Service road.
That's even better.
I had to get the Elon Musk to even have service. But, you know, dogs have cost me a lot of things. I mean, dogs have cost me, this sounds so cheesy, but like even romantic relationships, you know, because I wanted to get into dogs, you know. The last girl I dated said, if you keep getting dogs, you know, you're going to end up alone. I didn't really have that many, but she knew my heart was in the dogs, and she knew I was never going to stop, and I was going to keep going. You're
not going to be alone. You got your dogs.
That's right. I got these damn dogs, and they drive me up the wall half the time. But, you know, there's a lot to say, and I think once you get to know somebody and you can tell where their head's in it, you know, that changes. But at first, I mean, I hold nothing against you guys. I think it's very mutual. I mean, I was like, man, I must have rubbed him wrong, or maybe I'm a dick. Maybe I'm too damn nosy, you know?
No, you were it really did catch me, because it was like, just like some of the questions you had asked, you know, and I was like, damn, you know, is he trying to check up on me or what's happening? And one thing also is, I had just dealt with 1 or 2 individuals that were swearing up and down that they had some dogs from me and knew this and all that. And I'm like, I was dealing with a bunch of shit on that. So I was like, I just don't want to deal with nothing, to be honest with you. And
I get it.
So, but at the same time, it's like I said, it could have been handled a different way. And
it's all good. You guys have a seat at my campfire anytime.
Well, that's the same with us. Like I said, it's sometimes you just got to get to know somebody a little bit better, and you got to. And this whole dog journey has been that way. There's people who make assumptions and say certain things, but it's really about, you know, getting into these conversations. I've met some people face to face that I never even knew, but we've had conversations on Facebook, and it just didn't need to go that way. We don't even know each other. Why is it even getting to that point, you know? And I think where I am now, I'm going to go and do my thing with these dogs, and if people have a reaction to it, great. If it's good, awesome. If it's bad, well, they don't know me, and they can talk to people who know me. If they want to know me, they can call me or send me a message. But the same for all of us. Yeah, and that's what it, you know, the whole unity thing that we talk about all the time is, you know, it takes this right here to get that going. It takes communication, and it's got to be reciprocated. You know, one person can't be an ass, and then the other guy's like, you know, I don't know what I even did, and then because you don't get anywhere, and like social media is a great thing. At the same time, it can be a pain in the ass, because you got people making assumptions, and they're talking shit, and it's just a continuous thing. And you're like, man, I haven't even done anything to you, and you don't even know me. How are you? Why are you talking trash?
There's Facebook groups where guys just talk crap about other people's dogs. I mean, this is the point and this shouldn't be the point, but you know, some people, that's what they do, and that's what they're going to do, and go let them do it. But yeah, I would consider myself a pretty resourceful, open, friendly person when you get to know me. Not a one that wants to fight or have find a chink in another guy's armor. Just here to learn and hunt. And I'm no by any means a dog man at all. I'm here to. I'm enthusiastic about the dogs, and I want to see them excel with people who have experience like you. 40 years or however many years. I've got 4 years tops, and I'm learning things weekly, yearly. I mean, I want to see these dogs with people who have had dogs their whole life and know how to look at a dog and read a dog and what it's going to do and what it's worth.
Well, I appreciate you even considering us on it, Bo.
Oh, yeah.
That, and like I said, I'd be more than happy to give them a try. But now you're talking about the things that you've got to do in the short amount of time that you've been messing with these dogs in general. Going to another country, that's still, I've always wanted to go to Germany and do one of the boar drives and all that. So you got to go on actual, like a ceremonial style boar drive, or a sow hunt? Which one? Or, I know they have different ones. Lay it out for us.
It was basically a ceremonial driven hunt. So whether it's boar, whether it's sows, whether it's roe deer or red stag, or I forget the other deer. It kind of looks like those deers they put down on those big ranches down in Texas. It's got the paddly kind of antlers, and they've got the little speck. Yeah, deer like that, and so it was a big open driven hunt. But there's certain hunts, like when I go in November, I'm gonna go in August and pick up my next male. I'm imported from Lithuania, but I'm gonna go in November, hunt in Germany, 3 different spots, and then I'm gonna go to Lithuania and see how they hunt the dog and what they do there. And that's in 4 days. But they different seasons, different game. In southern Germany, we're going to be specifically hunting for boar with dogs, with rifles, not just dogs the whole way. But in northern Germany, it'll be drive hunts with dogs, boar, other game in the mountains as well. But I've been able to kind of see that perspective of how they do things there, and I'm really itching to come hunt the way you guys hunt down in the south. Go and find pigs. It's a different hunt. It's I don't want to say it's anticlimactic, but it's just very controlled. You'll get to see game, but there's something special about getting in the truck with your friends and going hunting.
It is. It's that's really one of the catching the hog is just the bonus part.
I'll tell you a really embarrassing part of that hunt, and I'll own it. I'm going to take this to the grave, but I'm a new hunter, and I walked in to this deer that these dogs had caught against this fence. Like this, I don't know, it's probably to me it looked kind of big at first. It was like a 50-pound deer. It really wasn't that big. It's a small deer. Dogs crashed this deer. They had their vest on. They're all hung up in the thorn. They're along this fence. They got this deer, stretching this deer. And they're yelling at me, get in there, get the dog. And I forgot that I had a knife on me. I think the Germans thought I was going to get there and slit the deer's neck. All I had was a 9-foot spear in my hands, and I was like, you want me to run in here? And so I said, all right. I ran in there and made a clear puncture and shish kebab this deer, and these dogs hanging off the spear, and I had this thing shish kebab in my spear, and they were all giggling and shaking their heads like, good Lord, American. But, that was hunting for me there.
Yeah.
And that was the first hunt I've ever been on with that style. And I was prepared for a big, nasty boar and have that spear just in case it broke out or the dog's going to hang on it long enough. Or, you never know. These dogs might be 10 minutes ahead of you. You don't know what you're going to walk into. And that was kind of my tool I had. But it's been an experience, man.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I won't ever go deer hunting like that again.
No, actually, that's it's going to be a little bit different now. And I've actually been in a situation where I've had to stick a deer, but it wasn't like just running in with a spear. It was like, it was a whole different scenario. But
yeah.
So
I had the blinders on and just ran in.
So you were just wide open. You were like one of the Arnt dogs, huh?
Yeah, I was like one of the Arnt dogs. I wasn't thinking things through. I was like, what is he saying? Big Daddy, you're like my oldest grandson. You don't think shit through.
That's it.
That was me, man, I'm an Adam Sandler fan, so I had quotes for days. But so I just ran in, did that, and there's rules. Like that wasn't cool. But I have a language barrier, and they're yelling my name, and I've got a 9-foot long spear and a bunch of terriers hanging off this deer, and I had a clear spot. So, I was safe, made sure I didn't touch a dog. And
yeah. Well, that's the main thing, is making sure that you were safe. No dogs got hurt. Nobody got hurt. So
exactly.
You can handle a little backlash and a little trash talking and shit later on, that's part of it. Even if you do it right, even if you've done everything right, in the hunting world, they technically should still talk shit.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
After the hunt, there's like 100 guys. They have these cauldrons of different soups and meats prepared, and everybody's drinking Pilsners and they're all laughing, saying that, they're all kind of mocking me with my spear and my deer and the dogs. And it was just, they enjoyed it because, they knew that I was in their world.
Yeah. Were you the only American there?
Yeah. And at one point I got so frustrated. I said, man, I wish someone effing spoke English around here.
Yeah.
And I couldn't translate with my phone. And this guy looks over at me and he says, in his kind of, German accent, well, I speak English. And I was like, thank God, man, can you stay with me?
Yeah.
Like, God.
Yeah. Make it a little easier on me. Hell yeah. Well, what
but
we'll
I've tried to learn.
No, go ahead.
I've tried to learn German. It's tough when you haven't been raised on multiple languages, and
yes,
I can get by, but
I made it to the point where I was dangerous. I couldn't even get by. They were like, "What did you call me?" I was like, "Wait a minute, hold on. That's not what I meant." But what we can do, Josh, is Nathan doesn't do much. He's got a lot of free time, so we can get him. I can get him to learn German, and then when you get ready to go, we'll ship him with you, and you have somebody to translate for you. And then
let's go.
Nathan could go there with you, and you have you you have a hunt buddy too, so it worked out good.
At least, yeah, it would be nice to have another American there with me. I mean, you end up kind of you're quiet half the time, or you're translating it for them, and it would be good. It'd definitely be good. And if you guys ever want to go, I mean, I've got connections. I don't do hotels. You go straight to their house, you get in their world, and they're honored to have you there to see their dogs and their way of life.
I was just joking at first, but
I'm not.
Nate's not joking. He's like, no, he's dead serious. We talked about it years ago.
I bought my ticket for November round trip just from Germany though, $880.
That's it.
That's it. I mean,
we spent $1,000 going hunting about anywhere. For real, traveling. If we go to another state, by the time we buy our licenses and get a room or something like that, just for a weekend, it's $1,000.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, I fly out of Seattle. I don't know what your biggest airport is, but I fly from Seattle one way to Frankfurt. Atlanta's probably pretty affordable, I think.
Atlanta's 3 hours from us, but that's probably the biggest airport that's really Memphis or Atlanta, and they're both about 3 hours.
Atlanta, I think DC or New York are the ones I know of for bringing dogs in. And I mean, I tried to bring dogs into Portland International, but it's just too many hoops. So Seattle is just so simple. But
for our listeners out there that have contemplated on or have even just thought about it or have been curious about it, do you mind telling us what some of the rates are to get a dog shipped? You don't have to give us a price you paid for the dog, but just the shipping and the process.
So I mean, if you want to use a third party to ship your dog anywhere in the United States, I would at least start at quoting $300 to $3,500.
Mm-hmm.
I think customs might have changed the age of the dog now. I heard something around that the dog has to be 6 months old. I used to bring them in around 3, almost 4. But my mail, everything said and done, was $4,500. Things can get really expensive, or things, it's based off flights, room and cargo. Lufthansa, I think it's about $400 a dog under the plane when you go, and I can go pick up 2 dogs per person. So if you have the connection, get a breeder, and you want to, you can save money if I could show them and spend a few days and go there and get the dogs and bring them back that way. I mean, I've imported one without going. That's too much. I wouldn't let it go.
Yeah.
You're paying $300 for some paperwork for an airline to get signed. It's just stuff that you can do yourself if you just go and do it. And they'll charge you $500 for the dog crates. I bought my dog crate there for $130.
Okay.
So I mean, if you're, for me, Seattle, for me to go get a dog all said and done, I can do it, I think, around $3,000, $2,700, maybe $2,500. And that's with the price of the dog.
Yeah.
A good hide over there. they're gonna sell for $800 maybe. So, I know yacht terriers and draughts, they'll sell for much more, just because of the pedigrees and the different registrations of those dogs over there.
Yeah.
And maybe in Eastern European countries. Yeah, and Eastern European dogs, I think they might cost a little less in some places. There's, Arn. I think Arn sells his dogs for, which is a steal. I mean, like they're rough dogs, like $600. I mean, he knows what, if you're gonna use them, what's gonna come.
Yeah.
So,
and that's
you're
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you pay $600 for the dog. You're paying maybe $1,200 for a flight. Now you got to have that dog's vet work, which I would cost maybe $300. Depends where you go. Then you got to pay for that dog under the plane. Once you get that dog back into America, there might be some fee at customs. They might do something where it's like, hey, you can pick up your dog, but sign this, pay us $100. The first time it was kind of confusing. But right now, I'm going to go get one. I'm sitting at a total of probably like 2,100.
I got you.
So far. So, things could change. But
like I said, I've had dogs. It's been a long time, and I partnered with people and had dogs shipped. And when you get them here and you get a pair and you start to breed, people don't understand why the dog is, to them, it's so high. I'm like, it's one of those deals. It's like, that's why I asked you, what does it cost now? And that way people can see. It's like, if you've got a good breeding pair, you've got $5,000 plus in, $5,000 to $6,000. And so, I mean, when you have your first litter of puppies and you do everything, all the vet work and, shots and everything works good on them. They shouldn't be $300 or $400 or $500, if you're selling.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, I can get this for that much. I'm like, well, go get it.
That's the thing. And, I think it's tough because I know what can happen to a dog, and it could die tomorrow, or it could, it could live 9 years. There's no saying, but, these guys get into the thermals. They spend, $4,000 for the thermal. They get into the suppressors. The suppressors only cost $100 to make. They sell them for $1,000,
Oh yeah.
But you got a guy over here who spent the last 20 years of his life to design a dog, and you're saying, oh, that's too much, And I think for me, I'll spend money on dogs. It's fair. I mean, all the effort that goes into it, like, it's not, to me, $1,000 isn't really that astronomical for a dog. I mean, if that dog made it to 5 years old, we break down the cost of that dog for that price every day. I mean, it's cents, it's not that much if you had to pay every day to have that dog for 5 years. But, and it's the history. It's all the effort that went in. And that's the one thing I've had that come up. I've had people reach out and I tell them, this is what I would sell a pup for. Well, that's way too much, and then it's like, all right, well, I'm already this far in it. And that's the other thing though, too. Yeah. You don't want to get into it where it's like, I have to sell these dogs for this much to make money back. Like, if it was about money, I mean, I should have walked away a long time ago. That's
exactly right. I used to throw a huge price out there when somebody would call and ask. Like for my yacht terriers, they were like, well, how much for a pup? I was like, well, first off, I've got a waiting list that's 2 years long. And, it's 3,500. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. And then I've had people that were like, hey, can you put me on the list? And I'm like, yeah. And they were like, well, how much is the deposit? And I did it just to kind of see who was serious and who wasn't. And out of all those years, I think I actually only sold maybe 2 yacht terrier pups out of all those years. I gave all the rest of them away. I would when somebody came and they were like, here, and hand me a stack of cash that was $2,000 to $3,000 or more to get this pup, I knew they were serious. And I was like, just take the pup with you. Give me honest feedback, hunt it. That's the most important thing. Like you said, if I did it for money, I would have to get into exotic bullies to make any money.
It's, if we're going to get into money, I mean, there's other dogs. I mean, I know people who are in the show dog world. I know people who make a lot of money dogs, but it's just when you're into working dogs and, guys who want to run working dogs, it does come with a cost. I mean, like it's not like this burden, but like the dog could break loose. The dog might not come back on its first hunt. Who knows? And that's where I kind of learned when I first started. I was like, what? I'm flipping 10 grand and these dogs right here, I can't have one killed yet, but it's like, I got to know also what they're made of. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think I held my male back and I treated him way too strict on the e-collar on his range. I mean, that's a crazy thing the hell out. And I was like, he's way too far out for me right now. But now knowing where I am, it's like, this next dog, they're dogs. They fend for themselves.
Yeah, just let them go.
They've got to go, and that's just learning, right?
Mm-hmm. No, that's correct. Especially like I said, if you don't come from a background where you have all these connections and these people that you hunt with all the time, if you don't have that, then you got to learn it on your own. And it's tough,
My buddy Seth Simpson up here in Idaho. I remember I went on a hunt with him, coyote hunting, and I was looking down at my remote, looking where my dog was, and he was like, "No more touching the fucking buttons. He can handle himself, Josh." And I love that, and we joke about that today because that's just how it's going to be. And I didn't have the mindset of a dog guy or a hunter. I had the mindset of, this is my hunting dog, but I also is my dog that I love to death, that comes home with me every day. And I want to have that companion in my life, but I also know where it needs to go now. And I'll always respect like that kind of criticism because I know it puts me in a better place for understanding dogs.
That's cool. There.
Knowing what they're made out of. And that's the thing. Like, I love those kind of, I've loved that I've bridged those kind of connections with people where they can be real with me. Like, hey, do this, try that. But yeah.
And Seth, I don't personally know him, like we've never met face to face or anything like that, but I know who he is, and I've seen a lot of the stuff that he's done over the years, and I always figured he was a dog man like that, and that's pretty cool to hear that you went with him. Yeah, he is, because that'd be some shit I'd be saying too. I'd be like, hey, stop messing with him, just leave him alone, Actually, the day we were training, I got up, me and Rodney. Remember, I was like, Rodney, stop, just leave it alone. Leave the dog alone. And Rodney's older than I am, but it's like he was. You can tell, like, you're going to get frustrated no matter how long you do this. And we had puppies, and we had some puppies that were starting real quick, and then we had one or two. He had his favorite, is basically his pick, and it was doing the least amount. And I was like, it's okay. I mean, they're 5 months old, 6 months old. Just calm down.
Yeah.
Just give them time,
Yeah, I mean, I've shared this story with some people before, but I was walking him down a hiking trail in Central Oregon, and it was along a highway. I mean, half-mile away from a highway, but anyways, he jumped a bunch of mule deer, and I had a Delta Garmin on him. It wasn't for tracking; it was just for like a few hundred yards range. And he broke through the shock. He broke through that. He ran those mule deer, and I was like, "Well, there goes my 6-month-old pup. He's gonna be dead. Probably I'm panicking. I'm running. He kind of gets after him. Can't keep up. The mule deer are running, and I run into some people on the trail. They're like, your dog just went through here. There's like 30 deer he's chasing after. And I'm chasing him down, and I catch him out on this golf course. And he's got these deer all over this golf course. And this very nice country club, like housing development that this golf course is built around. And he is just running around. It is summer. There's people golfing with their carts. They are pissed. They're waving their hands. They've got their cell phones out and shit. And I'm just yelling you his name, get back here, you're a dead dog, get over here, I'm just like, and then I was like, I had to really respect the drive. These dogs have to understand and acknowledge the drive, and maybe sometimes even try to protect them a little bit from their own drive when they're young. They don't know that they're young, but
oh, that's right. That's a good outlook right there, because there's too many people. Just because the dog will do it doesn't mean that they need to do it.
Yeah. We
had one today He disregarded everything that we were doing. He put his nose down and he headed out. I was like, Nate, he's only 5 months old, 6 months old. Catch him. We got to get him. Nate was like, what's he doing? I was like, he's fixing to roll out. We got to catch him. And there was boar hogs right there in that area. And like, he's never been around one or hasn't been exposed. And so it's like, if he gets down there by himself, he's going to get messed up. And we don't need that yet, you know. But now I could see you out there when you first done that, running behind, hollering at this dog, get back here. I could see you just bumping that butt and trying to shock the piss out of him. The little dog's running and his head's cocking sideways and shaking. His eyeballs are bugging out. And he's trying to get these deer. And now I see you today where you're screaming, get his ass, get a hold of him. And,
exactly.
And
that's way different now.
Yeah, it's a whole other deal.
When I first started this, I had this pickup truck that was brand new off the lot, and I was a fool for buying a brand new truck, but now it's covered in claw marks all down the side of it from dogs jumping over it out of it after whatever they see on a dirt road.
You know what you're going to be doing before long? You're going to be doing what I did this afternoon. You're going to be out there with a drill and a wire wheel, and you're going to be brushing it down to put a new coat of bed liner all over the truck, not just on the damn bed, but the whole damn truck.
Exactly.
Love these dogs. Jesus.
That's just in that, that's just what they're meant to do and how they're meant to act. And, you kind of, if you're getting these dogs to have something to like shape to what you think life is for them, you're getting the wrong dog.
Yeah.
You kind of got to build life around them.
Exactly. And that's where a lot of people mess up. They get a certain style dog or a certain breed of dog, and they want it to conform to them. And that's not how it really works. Some breeds terriers, you can, but you can't these.
No, and that's, I think, the biggest lesson. I don't know if it's even right, Joey or Nathan, but like, I think sometimes these terriers are looked at as just rough dogs, hard dogs, and you got to treat them strict and hard from day one. And I think, from what I've learned so far, this next dog I'm going to get, I kind of want to just lead really with not too much force. Just let him be natural, keep him protected from things while he's young. I mean, like you said, these dogs don't need to be out with a big hog or getting chewed up by something when they don't have the strength to defend themselves yet. But, like,
just let him be.
There'll
let
be
him do his thing.
Buttons. Let him learn. Yeah, let him learn that way.
Miles Threadgill just done that with his little pup. He got a little York Terrier from Jay Wolock, and pup's 7 months old, and they go out and they're walking. Pup strikes his own hog, runs it, and bays it. 7 months old. There's and just that he just started hunting. Miles just really started on his own, hadn't he? It ain't been very long. We seen him an older dog. Hey, and the older dog was over here hunting somewhere else, and the pup found the damn hog and went and done it.
Oh yeah.
You just let him be a dog.
Yeah.
And
that's all you can do.
Yeah, that's it. And
it's like we was talking about, like, oh, it's not trash if you can eat it. It's like, shit, that young dog don't know what you're hunting for.
He's just hunting.
Like I made a Facebook post today about a dog learning what a pig is.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what the hell they're doing until you show them what you're doing.
Yeah.
Until then, it's like, I got the urge to do this thing. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
We've seen a lot of switches turn today.
Yeah. It's kind of
that's the best when that switch turns.
Yeah. Yes, we had one that is that little Cuban cur. Excuse me. She's been baying and just playing. She's just 4 months old, 5 months old.
Yeah, I think she's 5 now.
5 now, and really they're too young to really start. So we were just introducing them, just to see if they're interested, and like we don't let them get too involved. Of course,
usually just for conditioning and all the new smells and all the sounds.
Yeah, just let them get in the truck, put them in the dog box, get them around all these other dogs, socialization, get them out into the woods, walk them around. Anyway, so her switch turned very quickly today, and we seen another dog come out of that one, and it's that's those days that make it all worthwhile.
Or like the little bulldog Jim.
Oh yeah, dude.
But see, now we won't show these dogs a pig for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, Jim's 7 months, 7, 8 months old maybe.
I think he's 7.
7 months old, and I told Nate, I was like, well, just drop him. He's a little bulldog. Told Nate, I said, well, just drop him out let him run over here. I had a pig over there, and like there was never any slowing down or checking up. He hammers it, and I had to get a brake stick out on him. He's never seen anything like at all, and I was like, well, he's going to do it. You know, I was like, that's exactly what you want to see.
Yeah.
And then we have another one that's it's off the same stock, same yard, but a different litter. And he was wanting to play with other puppies more. You know, he wasn't as interested. So you got both sides of it there. And so just letting them be a puppy, letting them become a dog, I think is one of the most important things you can do. You'll hurt more than you help by trying to train them, I think.
Yeah, you can't force it. You know, you just can't eat. Like I said, that whole control, the whole ducks in a row versus the pond. Just they're gonna be who they're gonna be. And I mean, Roy, you know, he got Adolf, and Adolf was my pick of the dogs to keep if I was gonna keep one. From that minute that dog was 5 weeks old, I knew he was gonna be a little badass dog.
Yeah.
Just the roughest of them all, I'd pick him up and he'd just growl and cackle and like just, you know, I just knew he was going to want to get it. Like, it just seemed like that kind of dog from my knowledge. And as Roy's told me, and I've got to meet Roy a few times and check in on Adolf, I mean, that dog doesn't ever walk. Only moves in a trot. Always has to move.
Yes.
Always has to look for something. And, you know, and they all develop differently, but I feel like his switch is kind of just set in there. And I was glad that came through.
Yeah. That's the dog that I got to see at Uncle Earl's, and that's when I really took notice. I said, "Man, this is this is a very nice dog," and he honestly had a good handle around everybody and around other dogs. I didn't see where he acted too wild or nothing. Did you, Nate? I mean, like he acted really, really good to me.
That's awesome.
I
love hearing it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and there was a lot of people asked about him and you know, was wanting to know about him. I know he ate some biscuits and gravy that Nate cooked, and I think he drank a little bit of moonshine with me and Roy. So he's pretty cool dog.
Yeah,
he was
I'm glad he passed that test.
Yeah, he's all right down here. And so I talked with Roy some, and I think he's going to, because he comes down for Uncle Earl's the big Hog Bay event every year. And so
you really need to try and make that.
Yeah,
Josh.
He's going to come down, I think, the week before and stay with us and hunt. And then we're all going to pack up and go down to Uncle Earl's and stay down there for the week. So if you're not doing nothing,
I know I need to get down. I need to see what I can do. I can't wait for you guys to see that second dog that he has too that came from Arn. And I mean, Adolf, like we said, is just the dog that I bred, but not a dog I ever really created. And that second dog he has, she needs to come hang out with you guys too. She's something else.
Can never have too many dogs.
No.
I love looking at them. Hate having all of them. I get them all. They're like, all these damn dogs. Who got all of them?
Yeah.
And then they'll be real good, and I'll be like, I love having these.
Yeah.
And then the other 6 days out of the week, it's like, who got me all these damn dogs?
We had a blue tick a while back. I got this blue tick, and she was young. And I'm telling you, this dog was. I don't really have hounds. Okay, I've had a bunch of them over the years, but I've never really hunted a lot of hounds on hogs. And so I told Nate, I was like, this dog has so much drive, it's ridiculous for a hound. And I wanted to keep the dog. Well, anyway, so we go through this whole back and forth deal, and we wound up, we traded the dog to a young guy that was wanting to get into coon hunting. And he really just didn't give the dog, he didn't know what he was doing, first off. I didn't know that part to begin with. He's never hunted at all.
He made great efforts, and he did.
Yeah, he tried
treeing.
Yeah.
And then he ended up getting a divorce, and his buddy that was also gotten coon hunting with him was also getting a divorce.
Yeah. So they got to talking, and so I wanted the dog back.
Yep.
We got the dog back, and you should have seen that son of a bitch today. You talking about put on a show. She put on a performance. And it was just like as natural as it could be. And here's why. Because she's not a damn coon dog. That's exactly why. As far as like running coons and treeing coons, that's not what that dog is needed for. or not what she was born for. Like you said, you never know what a dog is actually going to be until you find its job.
Yeah.
And that dog's
that
job.
was my honor dog.
That dog's job is baying hogs. And
Hell yeah.
I don't, it's one of them weird deals where it's like, never thought I'd have a hound mixed up in it, but yeah, she's definitely going to be there. She's
Hell yeah.
She's wild. It's crazy to see a breed like that just perform so much better on one thing than what it was actually bred for. And that's like I was saying with the hides. There's some out there that these guys are decoying with that are phenomenal. And me, I was like, well, that dog I never thought the breed was for that. But those dogs have a job.
Yeah, and there's, like we said, there's some versatile kind of structured dogs. But if you're a purist and you want to go and have, speak that story, it's run in and grab a pig.
Yeah.
Blood trail, wounded game. Don't let it get away any farther. And that's why I love Arn's dogs. I mean, he stayed true to it. Ingo, my friend, his dogs are a little, I would say, more, I guess, open-minded. They're not as intense, but they're all run to catch. Yeah. There's just some dogs you see that, it's like watching NCAA or watching NBA. Like some dogs are going to be Harlem Globetrotters, and some are going to just, they're just not that level, but they're still playing that game.
Yeah, they're on the roster, but they're not starters.
Yeah, we've got varsity, and then we got freshman JV, and we don't need to make fun of freshman JV. Those guys are they're playing.
That's right. Now on Art and them, now he's been running these dogs for how long? His whole life?
So when he got into them, he got some of like the last dogs from like Hans Warner and dogs that went back to Hans Warner, the originals. And he, I think, maybe had similar stories like kind of you had, honestly, with some of the German dogs he saw. He's like, well, he got some, and he's like, well, why are some of these kind of, not catchy as they should be, or as I've been told they are. And he was a full-on dog man, though. He was into bite work. He has line depressors and pits and other dogs, and he wanted to evolve the dogs a little, and so he went down there and like I said, got Spanish bred catch dogs, which went into his. And there's so many people who argue is it a German dog, and if it's not from German, but like I think the story is dogmen, right? They see a flaw and they try to fix it, and they are breeding the right direction for the dog, and that was Arn's point. And all of his dogs have the blood that goes back to 71, and he holds on to that, and he's like, you also with your dog's very protective of that. He's not a person you can just reach out to and get a conversation going out of the blue. He's a person that's going to think about it, maybe pattern you for a bit before he decides to have a conversation.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. It's what, like you just said, it's kind of protecting the breed, because it's a lot of time and work that goes into it. And then you just see it, like I was saying before, somebody can get it and they can just screw it all up. And then at the same time, you're doing a similar thing, but you're not screwing it up. You're trying to literally preserve it and to improve it. You're never ever trying to water it down or try to sell it to somebody, or not. I don't mean sell it for monetary value. I mean, like, I'm not giving you this story about something that's not true. If I say this is a 50-50 cross, it's not a high terrier. And people used to get up. They used to just burn my ass up. And like, I caught shit just like you're talking about with Arndt. They were like, well, it's not a German dog. Well, no shit. It's right here in the U.S. I never said it was a German dog. It's a German breed it was started in Germany, but all I did was mimic what they were doing. But I guarantee you, I was just as strict as any of those, the original guys. And I'm still like that today. That's why I said that's one thing. One issue is guys like me, we wind up losing in the end because we don't produce it enough for other people. We're stingy and we're selfish on it. And we're not selfish. I'm not selfish for me. I'm selfish for my dogs. if that
Yeah,
makes sense. I don't know.
It does. And I think that's kind of the way you have to be with something that's also kind of new. I think we've all seen where dogs have gone,
Yeah.
every breed, like look at your modern day German Shepherd. It looks like it's got a 19-inch lift in the front
Bull Terriers.
and the back. Same,
The English Bull Terrier does not look anything like
a tater tot with legs.
Yes.
It's changed. All these dogs are changing, and that's the thing. I mean, I know we get
tater
protective
tot
of
with
them.
legs. That's awesome.
Yeah,
And no,
But,
it's true. Now you see some of the ones that we have, and I'm not saying it's like tooting our own horn or nothing. We've just been very blessed and very, very selective on which dogs that we get. Our English Bull Terriers are not like that. The very first one I had, he was just a meathead. He was a meathead, but I'm talking about he was tough though. But the ones that we have now, they're athletic, they're agile. Their head is more straight instead of having a big egg head. They're not little bitty short dogs that are as wide as they are long. They're not like that. But that's also you got to be careful where you get your stuff from.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of what I've really tried to map out for my dogs. And and you know what, I might fail. I'm not going to say I did it perfect, but like there's going to be times where I go to a place who, I mean, it can happen to any of us. So I could go and get a dog from you, and I know, I've heard that you make great hunting dogs, but I might be the person that accidentally got the coal of the litter, right? It's not a reflection on you or your dogs. We all know that some breedings don't work out. I can travel to Europe and go get the dog that I thought would be best from Arn, but it didn't work out. But then, I brought Selma here and sadly ran her head over with my truck, and that's just her story. But
that's a tough ass dog.
That dog
survived.
Was in a coma for 3 days.
Dude, I'd like to have that bloodline just because of the tenacity and how tough.
She won't hunt. She won't hunt. I know, and she came from really good dogs, and I mean, my dream would be to get a litter out of her, but I'm in no rush, and I also have to be honest with like what that looks like. If I take a dog that came from good dogs, and I bred it, haven't got to hunt it, I have to be really honest with that. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, this dog is an amazing hunting dog, and then breed it, and then throw those dogs out there. I would. It's like a science fair almost at this point. Like, hey guys, we're gonna run a hype. Here's the hypothesis. Like, this is what I'm expecting. This is what could happen.
And I guarantee you, there is a large number of people that have done something similar, and didn't put it out there like it was some big, like this dog did all this and did all that. The potential is there. The dog is from great hunting lines. It's bred well. It's bred for performance. The dog did not have the opportunity because of an accident that happened, but the dog is physically capable and able to have pups. So it would, like you said, it'd be one of those deals. That would be one of those where you would breed it and send it to your close friends and say, hey, see how this works.
Yeah. And she comes from very heavy English Bull Terrier blood back, and that's the thing I'm looking at. I'm looking back at like what dogs were used for English Bull Terrier, what was introduced, because I've seen show ones brought in, and that kind of makes me turn and look the other way. They put the miniature Bull Terriers in a lot of them. Yeah, they do.
That's junk. That's junk.
Yeah, that'll show up. And sometimes even like there's multiple breeders there, and I don't want to talk crap on any of the breeders. I'm close to Arn and Ingo and my friend Zilvinus out of Lithuania, but I've seen a few pedigrees there, and I start to you start looking around at how these dogs are labeled and named. And like Arn's dogs were always known to be the hardest of all of them. They were the roughest dogs. Go look at another guy's pedigree, and it would say Spanish. It would say Spanish bitch on it. It wouldn't even credit Arn's dog because they know that dog has a Lano in it, or a Spanish Wildcat dog, and they're selling and marketing dogs for EBT, Airedale, Yacht Terrier, but they need a hunting dog, and they know that this is going to put that fire in, or they're hoping that it will, and they'll pay stud fees, and that's just kind of how those guys treat each other over there. And we're not trying to do that here. We're trying to be honest with what's in the dogs. 50 years from now, Who cares?
Mhm.
If they've made their own, you do any DNA tests and none of that stuff comes up. It just says
Yeah.
hide, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't really matter. It's root stock. Like,
That's
go
right.
back to root stock of all breeds.
We're still,
how
this
to-
is all very young. This is still a very young breed.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing to be mindful. A lot of people online will get caught up what it is, what isn't. Like you said, a 50-50 cross isn't a hide. But doesn't mean it's not a great working dog. And
Oh,
like you and I
exactly.
talked about earlier, doesn't mean, some people get so caught up, but a dog is, as my friends and people like Seth and other people have shown me, a dog's not what it looks like, it's what its ability is. And,
We had
that's all that
one
really matters.
off one of the earlier litters. His name was Gooch, and that's what he looked like, a freaking gooch. He looked, it was the absolute ugliest dog I've ever had. No, he's second ugliest. He's the ugliest one I had born on the yard. The Plot Hound crossed with the Yog Terrier was the ugliest dog. Kramer.
Yeah,
That was the ugliest dog ever.
Kramer was
He was a narrow frame, deep chested, long legged, plot looking dog that was the size of a small plot with a face like a Yog Terrier and long hair on the top half of his body. And had long ears like a plot hound, long nose, long muzzle. That was the ugliest dog. But now Gooch looked like I don't know what. And that dog was phenomenal. That son of a bitch right there would get it. He would go hunt. And but he had every bad attribute that you could really think of. You know what I mean? So it was one of those. He was a hunting dog and he was never bred.
Yeah.
And but now he had brothers and sisters that looked like show dogs. And it was like, wow, what happened? Well, I know what happened. They took all the pretty side. He took all the hunting side, because most of those dogs, they were still what most would consider a good hunting dog, but they weren't great.
Yeah.
Gooch, he was great for the time. And like you said, people get so caught up in that. I was always one of those that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was thinking, what I was thinking back years ago, everybody was like, well, just buy one from somebody in Germany. And then I had several people, they inquired. They were like, oh, so-and-so is going to sell me one of these Heide Terriers. They're going to do this and they're going to do that. And I asked them, I said, do you think they're going to sell you their best dogs? And they're like, well, yeah, that's what they said. I said, so you don't think anybody in Germany is a dog peddler? I'm not saying everybody is by no means, but all you
There's
did,
a few.
yeah, all you did was just make a post on Facebook or social media. Back then it was a forum. It was before Facebook. And you made a comment in a forum, and then somebody immediately contacted you and was like, yes, I'm a Heide Terrier breeder. I'm like, we've been looking for Heide Terrier breeders for a year and have only found one or two. And now all of a sudden you got 10 and they all want to sell you a dog.
Yep.
I was like, that's a flag for me.
That is a flag for me too. And I mean that there are people like that over there. There's also people like you and I've talked about who have the ingredients, but the quality of the ingredients really matters. The English bull or if whatever you're using for catch dog race matters. Your Yog Terrier, your Airedale, and there's a lot of people who want to build representations of the breed. They want to build the dog that has the nice German beard that's going to get 1,000 compliments and a ton of likes. And, my dog Yuma gets a ton of compliments and likes for how he looks, but he is not as impressive as some of the dogs I've seen there. There's some dogs that many people don't know their names, and they are beyond impressive and much more impressive than Yuma. And but Yuma's one of the only ones here, so it adds this scarcity and this value to him because he's one of the ones that guy brought in. It's got to be good then. But there's so many dogs. Just because you bring something in from Europe doesn't mean it's better.
Yeah, that was kind of my point. It's like just because it's from Europe does not mean that it's the best European dog.
No,
and I never, like I said, now keep in mind we're talking over 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And so it was a little different than it is now. And so it was like, it's like, man, I couldn't fathom trying to spend, $3,000 or $4,000 and get a dog here. And then like you did, you took a big risk from what I seen. It's to put $10,000 out and then something happened to them, or if they were just shit, man, I don't know if I could have handled it. But then again, I wound up taking the long, hard road and probably went through more. I know I did. I ain't gonna say probably. I know I went through more of a headache and more shit than I would have if I just took that route.
Yeah, there's and every route's different from everyone, and that was just the route I wanted to take. And I did the best research as I could. I was new to the game, and I was like, I want to see videos of your dog scarred up. I want to see videos of them. I want to see blood. I want to see torn up vests. Like, I'm not coming over here for show pictures. And I trust their Dingo, and I think Dingo builds balanced hunting dogs that will respect other dogs and that are, as I say, desperate to find game. I mean, they're catchy. You can hunt versatile with them. With a pack of dogs, they'll get in there and hang their teeth on the board. They're not going to back up.
Hell yeah.
They might not be like, a dog that's going to hit a monster European boar and hang on forever and die on it. Those dogs might say, you know what, I've had enough of this. Where the hell are you?
Yeah,
but
self-preservation.
Dogs like ours, they'll die. They're suicide jockeys.
What'd you say? He said he's like, sometimes they die, or somebody said he's like, sometimes they die.
No, I said,
oh,
and I was talking to one of my buyers about Arn, because he looks like the guy from Rocky with Apollo.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He looks like the Russian. He looks like the Russian, and like Arn, you hear the voice of him saying that it's like, if they die, they die, and that's how he is. I mean, I talk to Arn all the time. He's told me all the stories of his dogs dying, and kind of, I have this respect though. I mean, it's like he sent it, he didn't sit back at home and say, what if. He went and made his hard hunting dogs, and all his good dogs, I mean, are dead. Thor, Sally, Aaron, he talks about a dog named Billy, who was one of the best ones. And he said, I mean, and this is a guy who's got doggo Argentinos and American Pit Bulls and English Bulls, and he has his own line of Pressas, and he was like, Willie can catch better than most purebred catch dogs.
Yeah.
It's like Willie would go catch an elephant if you wanted him to, kind of dog. But, he was a stand-up guy. He's not going to say that about every dog he's made. Arn's a committed boar hunter, and that's why you guys need to get involved and meet Arn, or even just have a conversation about his dogs from his perspective. I can only say so much.
I would love to do that. And so would the language barrier be a problem? Is he good with English?
Oh, he'll speak English, and it's because it's so broken, I find it more interesting to listen, because I'm really having to listen to what he says. But
how people whose English isn't their first language, how they use adjectives and how to describe things, because they usually put it in a viewpoint of a way that I didn't think of. Like, I worked with a lot of people from like the Middle East and like the eastern part of Eurasia, and so like just watching those people describe things was always very interesting to me.
Yeah, and same, like, when I talked to him, and I really wanted to know about the foundational dogs he used and what they were about and what they meant, even if they're not here. I just wanted to hear him speak on them. And he talked about bringing in Thor came from Spanish, like I said, catch dog blood. When he talks about Thor, just like his accent, he says Thor, and it says Thor. Thor was all catch.
Yeah.
And he was it's just how he speaks, and he, it really invites you in to listen. I mean, it's interesting to hear their perspective and how they hunt and what the dogs they use. And he built dogs that were always going to be kind of rough on the handle, a dog that's not going to have a weak mind. And I think Adolf kind of got that, and I choked with joy about it. Like, some of these dogs, not that I ever do this, but you could tap them with a 2x4 a bunch, and it doesn't even faze them. My last dog, Anna, she felt like she was bulletproof. Throw her through a glass window, and she come out the other side. What's up, Josh? Let's do it again.
Yeah.
My other dogs aren't like that. They're more of that nature to the coyote hunting dogs. They're versatile. They'd run in, I think, with a bunch of dogs on a pig and participate. They'll they'll catch raccoons and tree and swim and retrieve, and they'll do other things. But when it comes to that rough nature dogs, you guys want to be good into an arm and have some cool dog story, hunt story back to back.
Yeah. That definitely be something pretty cool there to have on there. It's something different because I mean we as hog hunters, I think most of us that hog hunt all the time and just primarily hog hunt, the first thing we think of, other than us, as far as Americans hog hunting, is Australians. You know, we see Australians, or New Zealand, something like that. So the people in Europe are always kind of, we don't ever really talk about them near as much because they do so many drives and they shoot.
Yeah, I need to get Arn to send me some videos of his dogs catching out. I know that's a sensitive topic there, like sharing hunting and like blood and guts and guns on Facebook. They do not allow it or do it. It's something they just, I don't know, they just get criticized for that. But I know Arn, I mean, he takes those dogs down south into Spain, and there's places where they've got really big fenced enclosures, and just to see how a dog's going to work and if it's going to catch out or what it's going to do. They test them. Yeah, he puts the test. And this guy, I mean, like I said, he looks like the guy from flipping Rocky Balboa, the Russian. He trains MMA, he trains bite work. He loves hot dogs, and he's committed. And it's cool to see how his lines are versus others, and how so many people use his dogs to breed back to once they tried something and they watered it out and they get that drive back in. Arn's dogs always had it. He's always kept it there.
That's cool.
A lot of respect for them and all of them in their breeding practices. There's a lot that do it right. And like here, though, there's also people who want to make a quick dollar. So
that was the part I was always scared of, and I have to be honest and say that's what I was scared of, is somebody getting it and just breeding it and starting to sell it for $200 or $300. I was like, man, that's not what I want to see, and that's why I said that was me being selfish for my dogs.
We'll have to send Nathan with $500. We'll have him bring one back from Arn.
Oh yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we can get some. I feel like, what are prices of, you have to get your plane ticket, but I got free places to stay if you ever want to come out and see it or go on a hunt. I mean, it's not going to be the boys from Boars N Broads hollering, having a blast. I don't want to get them on that, but it's going to be a whole different hunt. You're going to have a flipping Lord of the Rings horn you're blowing in the air, and bullets flying, and just German screaming.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can film it and experience it, I like beer. I mean, I don't know how their marijuana laws are over there, but I can drink some beer.
I
think they smoke. They definitely drink. That's the thing. It was like they wanted to drink me under the table so bad, and I mean, these beers are like the size of wine bottles. I mean, every day, everywhere you go, you're with these 60-year-old men who are pro at drinking beer and pro at talking about dogs for hours.
That sounds like my heaven right there. It's like, because like it's hard for me to. I don't really drink beer very often anymore, because like I can consume an abnormal amount, and so a lot of times I'm just like, I'll drink a couple and I'm done, and let everybody else they can hang out and do all that, and I'll just read something about dogs. But if I could hang out with a bunch of guys that were older than me, drink beer all day, talk shit about dogs, and see dogs just kill dogs, just hammers, just that would be awesome.
Man, we'll set it up for sure, Joey.
All right. That'd be, like I said, even if I can't, we'll send Nate, or if both of us can't, Nate can at least.
We'll get Nate in. Yeah, I think, and that's what's so cool about what you guys do down at Dixie Doggers and your podcast. It's hog hunting culture. You get to explore edges of the way other people do things. And I've got European connections if we ever want to see how they run and what they do. And it's just more content and stuff.
No, that's the fact. See, years ago, I don't know, I guess that Nate was still in high school, and we had
was
talked
in
about
high school.
actually me and James Mill, several of us, we all talked about
This is
like
when Cody was still on the board of directors.
well, yeah, Cody Fritz. We had all talked about just pulling the money up and sending Nate over there. It was like, here, go learn. You know, by himself, just like, here, go to another country and learn some shit.
I'll do it. I like the
about all the
dogs.
terriers, you know.
It's cool. I mean, that's kind of what I'm trying to do too, you know. And it's like, it's definitely there's old books there of just even Yak Terrier books, and it's like, man, they've been writing about these dogs for a long time, all German, you know, just nothing really in publications on Heide Terriers, but like we're at something new here. So
yeah, we're writing a book on that right now.
Exactly, you know.
Or you are.
So
well,
I'm trying.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of geniuses 150 years ago that were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So
and I think it takes somebody that's a little bit crazy to do the kind of stuff like that.
We have no sense.
No.
I can say that full confidence.
And I mean, like, even having this conversation, it strikes a fire back up in me about like all the things that I done with it. It's like, man, it makes me want to get going again. It's like, yeah, let's get it going. But at the same time, I was exposed to some of the imported stuff that wasn't what would work for me. And so I'm anxious to see what kind of stuff you got now, you know, what the stuff that you brought in. So I'll hold off on doing anything else until I get to run some of your dogs and or some of the dogs that you're breeding up. Because I mean, I don't want to go through another 10 years of having to do that shit. I'd rather just skip to the front and get the good stuff.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, we produce.
I got a little VIP access pass for you.
Hell yeah, that sounds like.
But you know, I think there's going to be some you know potential, like we talked about, and there's never no promises in dogs. But you know, with Adolf and dogs that are ending up like him, and his mother down south with also a really nice kind of rough male from Arn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just keeping that blood together and seeing what you guys think of that versus taking like a dog like Yuma, who's from a different line, and putting it into Arn's line, because that's what Adolf is. And, you know, everything from Arn's line bred. So we'd be line breeding again with those. But, yeah, it'd be cool, you know, and I'm excited for these possibilities. We'll get you in. I was telling Roy, sitting in his backyard talking dogs with him, and I was like, that's one thing I want to do. I want to make sure when I send one to Joey and Nathan, you know, help me make sure it's a good one.
There you go. We like I said, I'm glad we had this conversation. It's been a long time coming. We should have had it a long time ago. Not even on the podcast deal, but just in general, and then being able to be on the podcast with you being a guest here, that's really great. And we appreciate you taking your time and the knowledge that you have and shared it with us and everybody else. We've got a lot of listeners now all over the world, and it's very humbling.
Yes.
I have people call me every day, message me some form or fashion, you know, and just ask questions about dogs. And I know we'll get some questions off of this about the breed and stuff like that. And do you have like a website or a Facebook page or anything like that with the history and or any more knowledge on the or literature parts of the Heide Terrier?
I will I'll send you. I've got a write up that's all I've created. That's all in English, which is from Arn's German. He sent over. You know, he wanted help. He wanted that all translated into English.
Okay, that's the one I read the other day.
Yeah, I've got a big write up on it. I mean, it's pages and pages long, but it's of what they have for their club there. Yeah. And but I can share that. And I don't have a website personally yet. I'm kind of in that place where I've just utilized Facebook and my Instagram. But you know, let's see how things go in the next few years and see what these next batches of dogs kind of not just shotgun them all out. And, you know, kind of be a little more methodical about it. This first litter, and be honest with where they are, and see what the second one will be, and just go from there. And if we start really getting into it, you know, I can see a website and making it more resourceful for others. But like you said, kind of protect it just like you were. I want to make sure that it's not blown out the wrong way. or expressed in the wrong light.
That's right. And if we all work together and stay in contact, we can, myself, Nathan, and there's several other guys out there that I know that we'll all help as much as we can, as far as like you can contact us and say, hey, do you know so and so? And
yeah,
chances are we probably know of them at least, and help you vet some of the people until you've been in it a little longer and you get to learn a lot of them, or get to know.
Yeah,
more about
I need to go on a hog hunt down there. I mean, that's the one thing that discredits me. I haven't got to go hog hunting in America yet. So
well, you come on.
I'll come down. Nathan and I will go to Europe and get some content. That'd be fun. That's
no, that's definitely something that
of
can happen. Yeah.
My goal is
We'll
to
have fun.
hunt pigs everywhere they legally allow it with dogs.
There we go.
And
That's
even
my life
illegally,
goal.
as long as they don't know it.
I don't know. Well, like in some places, like
Just don't know if you get caught.
Yeah, I just like when I go to Japan, I don't want to.
They might karate chop you over there.
Yeah,
Do the Judy chop on you. Josh, you got anything else that you would like to add or anything to take away on this?
Man, I'm glad we had this talk. Same feelings and thoughts, just like you. This world can be so small, and we can all look at each other and not know who this guy is wanting in or who that person is not sharing. But I'm glad you and I are friends. Same with Nathan, and we're all like-minded and open to have these conversations about dogs and new people like me who want to be a part of it. So,
well, man, we're glad you're a part of it. Like I said, it sparked a little fire up, and I ain't had that in a while on that. Kind of lost a lot of faith in some of the breeders and stuff that I've known over the years, and I hadn't seen anybody really new come in a while that was really putting forth the effort like you are. I mean, like you put forth a big effort. So, and I know it'll pay off. Like I said, so as soon as them pups get out here, we'll be putting them in the woods. And like I said, you can just come on anytime. And
yeah, we'll try it. And if they don't work, we got to try another one. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to learn. I'd love to learn more from you guys and other people. So I can't wait. And I'm very thankful you guys had me on your podcast, and everybody listening. Thanks for having me here.
All right, brother. We appreciate it. And I'll be talking with you pretty soon.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
All right. We'll see you, Josh. Thanks, buddy.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, y'all. That was Mr. Josh Neff. Take just a minute to give y'all a little bit of backstory on that. What kind of some of the stuff we were talking about in there. Josh, when he first got interested in that breed, I had been breeding those. I had been breeding that breed up for many years, and he contacted me, and we talked just a time or two, and then he asked several questions. And it just kind of caught me off guard, I guess you'd say, almost, because it was like he asked some questions that were most people wouldn't have asked. And so I was like, well, I don't know who this guy is. And so I did the standoffish thing. And then finally I just didn't respond. And then I watched him go through all the stuff that he's done. And he's really put forth a big effort into doing it. And, we both, like I said, there were mutual feelings there where it was like, is this guy an ass or whatever on both ends. And until we actually got to put those egos aside and just talked and everything, found out that, we got way more in common than not. And I just felt like I should say that. Like I should have handled that a different way. There was never any like altercation, no arguing, none of that stuff at all. It was just, I didn't say nothing else. He didn't contact me anymore either. So it was like, but it's kind of like taking and culling a dog real early before you ever give it a chance. So maybe give people a chance a little more than not. That's just one of them things you learn as you get older. And that's where I got caught right there, because I always say, you need to help people. Don't be the old bastard in the group that, and that's exactly what I was doing. And I apologize a lot. I don't know. That was wrong of me. I just feel like shit for doing it. And but
That's how you make it better.
yeah, it's all working out now. And it has for a while. Like I said, I'll give him his props. There's no doubt about it. So, hey, we appreciate y'all.
Yes, we do.
A million times fold. Y'all let us know what y'all think about the new intro that we got going on. I think Nate started putting that on, what was it, a couple weeks ago now, when this airs. And y'all let us know what y'all think about that. And if y'all don't like it, well, sorry, I ain't doing another one. I don't know. That's all I got. And for all the listeners out there that like us, we love y'all. And for the listeners that don't like us, we love y'all too. Thank you for listening. Till the next time, see ya.
Thank you. Hope y'all enjoyed that episode. Stay tuned for our new episodes every Monday and Wednesday. For questions, advertising, or just to chat, email DixieDoggers01@gmail.com.